Today on The Grid, it's how would I edit your photo? Eric Kuna is here, the Rocket Man, Real Man Canahan Kuna. We've got some prizes. We got some really good prizes, and it all starts in just 60 seconds.
The Grid is brought to you by Tamron. Check out their 28 to 75 millimeter f2.8 lens. It's for Sony full frame mirrorless. It's awesome. Go to tamron-usa.com.
And ProPhoto, the light shaping company. Check out the ProPhoto B1X. Powered all the right places. Go to prophoto.com/US.
And PlatyPod, the tripod alternative that is changing the world. Everybody has a PlatyPod. You should too. Go to platypod.com.
Hey everybody, it's Wednesday morning and welcome to The Grid. We are live at our brand new time, 11 a.m. Mr. Kuhn is here.
Hey Scott, how's it going?
It's going good. It's weird.
Yeah.
I can look at you this way or I can just look at you actually in real life over there.
Yeah, and I'll look into the camera like I'm looking right at you.
That's amazing. This is crazy. Anyway, we're still practicing our social distancing like we all should. Hey, look, I got a new mask. So this is from Kim, my editor. She and I are both big fans of The Walking Dead, and so she got me a Walking Dead mask. All right, nice. Anyway, they liked it at Dunkin' Donuts this morning.
Nice.
Anyway, so glad to have you all with us today. Hey, I literally just got to the studios. It's a long story. I had a bunch of stuff going on this morning. And so I didn't get to tweet out that the show is on now, which is 11 a.m. It's our new time on Wednesdays. So if you are on social right now, if you wouldn't mind just dropping a tweet out there, we'll retweet it. Just say, hey, the Grid's on live now, and Eric will run over there and retweet it real quick. I will too. But here's what the show's about today. What we've done is, you know how, and I want to give some credit to the guy who came up with this idea, Terry White, our dear friend and instructor and just cool guy. So Terry was watching the Grid last week, and he said, you know what my favorite part of the Grid is? When you guys say, okay, well, there's something wrong with this photo, but then you actually go into Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever, and you show, here's what I would do, here's how to fix it. And so Terry did one of his podcasts. He does a mastering photography podcast every Friday live. He did that. He said, hey, I'm going to have people send in their images, and I'm going to show how I would edit them. And he said, you ought to do that. I'm like, that sounds great. So it's like, it's what we call a boomerang. So we did this thing on the Grid, and Terry did it, and it went well, and then it comes right back to us. It's a boomerang. And it comes back. So anyway, thank you, Terry, for the idea. And so that's what we did. I've had people send in images. I had a lot of people send in images that were obviously finished and done, like they have a buy button on them and stuff in the gallery. I'm like, no, it has to be images that are not been edited. Yes. All right, I'm going to get set up for our first one, and we're doing these blind. We don't know the names of the people that submitted them. But it's really about.
While you're getting set up, I mean, we got tons of people joining us all over the world. It does look like we got a lot of people joining us, even though we weren't able to post about it. So we've got everybody. We got Jennifer saying hello, Deb saying hi, Mike saying good morning to the Grid Gang, Lenworth's in there saying hey to the Grid Nation, Deb's saying hey.
Stop. Yep. Lenworth gets my vote for most improved photographer. Yeah. I have seen him grow. I follow him on social.
I follow him on Instagram.
He is in the zone. He does beauty headshot photography, and his stuff is so creative. He's got a really good makeup artist. He's really, he gets my high five of like emerging photographer of the year. He's really doing great. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but if I didn't do it then, I wouldn't do it at all. So.
No, that's great. And then Todd's asking if Eric's broadcasting from the ISS. I am not. I'm actually broadcasting from glorious Oldsmar, Florida. So let's see. Yeah, we got everybody join us around the world. Let's see what else we got. We got Wendy over there from Chicago, Sabin from Belgium. So, yep, all over the world. So we got, Scott had mentioned a bunch of great prizes this week. We actually have, let me look over because I don't want to misquote. We have a Lytra torch, so that's really cool. The Lytra little light that has a lot of power. Great for like, I use them for like webcam lights or just kicker lights if you're doing photography or video, needing a little kicker light or even a key light. It's great stuff. And then SlickPick is giving away a master level account. And a cool thing with SlickPick is they're actually giving away, or they're giving everybody in the Kelby One Nation, Grid Nation, 50% off their SlickPick accounts. And if you go to slickpick.com/Kelby1, you can get that 50% off discount. So that's slickpick.com/Kelby1. They're going to be giving away that master level account. And then we're also giving away a PlatyPod Max, which is, if you've watched the show before, you know our favorite tripod alternative. It's that thing that'll get your tripod down low, get you in that weird, that cool, weird angle.
Get you in that weird angle.
That weird, cool angle. Yeah. It's that unique angle where you're down low. It's also where you can mount it anywhere. You can, I've taken it out on, it's got little spikes. You can take it out on the ice and kind of balance it on the ice, balance it on rocks. You can mount it to poles. I've actually also staked it in the ground at a rocket launch pad. So
I tied it to a railing in Austria.
Yeah, railing. You can mount it up in rafters. I've done that before. So tons of stuff you can do with it. So really the best tripod alternative, and it's that thing that you never get the tripod police on you when you have a PlatyPod. So
I know. All right. Well, hang on. I was ready to go with my first image, but something happened crazy here. So give me a second. I'm trying to figure out what I did. So I got a new laptop, and all hell has broken loose.
All right.
Yeah, crazy things have happened since I got it, so I'm trying to fix that. So what I'm going to wind up doing is I'll be using some Lightroom and some Camera Raw. They're the same thing, right? It's the same. So let me open it up. Let's start with this first image. It's going to be in Camera Raw. All right, here we go. So this is our first image, and thanks to everybody who sent in actual unretouched images. It was funny. Some people, you look at them and they're like, yeah, that's not what we're looking for. We need the unretouched. And this one is just what we're looking for, which is an unretouched photo out of the camera. Now, I'm using Camera Raw. Just so you know, this is the same sliders in the same order that do the same thing as the develop module in Lightroom. So if you have Lightroom, you look over here and you're like, oh yeah, that's the same stuff. It's all the same stuff. So if you're a Lightroom user, they took Camera Raw and stuck it in Lightroom. Okay, so we're going to do this mostly in Photoshop because for whatever reason, this image isn't going to open in Lightroom. I don't know why, but here we go. So the first thing we need to do basically is just kind of evaluate the image and say, all right, well, what do we need to work on? So I'm just going to zoom in here a bit so you can see, and let's see. It's actually fairly nice. The only thing that's a little funky, do you see the shadows coming in, like the light's coming in over here, and there's going to be some shadow issues. We're going to have to decide what we want to do with that. But the lighting in the front is very flat, but you can tell she's got front lights. Look in the eyes, right? So there's a softbox up front, but I think it could have been a bit brighter. Now, I'm going to tell you something that you're going to discount, but it's because Adobe has made this so much better. If you're not sure where to start with, like, I need a starting place, I would tell everybody for many, many years, do not hit the auto button. The auto button, Eric and I used to joke, was the overexposed button. You clicked on it and it just made your photo look 2 stops overexposed. It was just a mess. They have gone and they kept tweaking it, and it's the best it's ever been right now. So you can click it. Now, sometimes it'll be a disaster and you just hit undo. But it's one click if it helps move some of the sliders in the right area, right? So let's give it a shot. I'm going to go ahead and just click the auto button. Let's see what we get here as soon as I can see my screen. There we go. All right. So let's hit auto and just see where we're at. And I have no idea where we're at. I just saw this image 20 seconds ago when you saw it. That didn't do a lot, did it? Here's before. Here's after. What it did do, it fixed a little clipping, like it was a little bright.
Yeah, it was trying to fix the background clipping.
And it's over, like it sees that really, really bright background. So it's not a great help in this case. So what would be?
It works really well if you're doing like street photography,
travel,
photojournalism, travel, that kind of stuff. I use it all the time. Yeah, the auto. It's like the starting point, and then you do your edits.
It's a reasonable starting point. And for some people, they'll hit auto and go, "It's done. It looks great," and that's cool. But this is. I just want to remind you, Don't try this on your old versions of Lightroom and Camera Raw. This
don't.
is if you're using the latest version of Lightroom and Camera Raw, the auto button keeps getting
Old
better and
versions,
better.
it's just the overexposure button.
All right. So speaking of exposure, let's do this. Let's if I double click the whites, shift double click on the whites, and shift double click on the blacks, it's going to kind of set our basic tonal range, right? It's going to expand the tonal range. And you can see, of course, the whites go all the way to -100 because it sees that bright, bright background. The only way you're going to bring this back is two things. You're going to have to open up your shadows. So you see where we're going here? Look at what we're doing. Now you can see detail in her dress. It looked like a black dress. It's blue, right now.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to bring up your exposure. So I think we got an exposure issue more than anything. Once we do that, we can bring down the shadows a bit. The reason why, so why don't you just crank up the shadows and not worry about it? Well, if there is any noise in this image, and it doesn't seem to be much noise, but if there was any noise, opening up the shadows a lot will bring out that noise. I don't have a problem with noise, but for a lot of people they do. So I try to tell people, you may not want to open the shadows so much. On an image like this, it's probably shot in a studio at 100 ISO. I don't have any metadata on it, so I can't tell you, but you can probably get away with bumping the shadows a lot. If you bump it too much, depending on the image, it can look like HDR. All of a sudden, people look weird. So kind of keep that in mind. Let's look at the white balance. So the white balance looks perhaps a little cold, but I think we're still got an exposure issue. Let's bring up the midtones a bit. And then, and this is a trick I'm going to tell you guys that I do to every single photo. So think about this. I don't think this is so much a photograph. It's not really a fashion photograph. It's a portrait, right? Portraits are about the people. Fashion is about the clothing. So I would want you to be able to see her face really clearly. Her face should be the brightest thing in the photo. So at this point, I would probably go to the adjustment brush, just like there's one in Lightroom. Click up about a half a stop over here. Everything else to 0 and the exposure up. And let's paint a little over her face to just bring your attention right there, right? Now, I think 0.5 might be a bit too much on her. Let's go down to a more likely 0.4 or 0.3. But that does, see how that little bit of, watch this, just look, it's just a little bit, but watch. It makes a big difference. That helped tremendously, and we're just moving the exposure up, so you're really moving up the midtones, not the shadows so much. Of course, we got to get rid of those corners and stuff. We also have some issues with the composition. You have a lot of headroom above her head, so I would go in here with the crop tool. Let's drag in the crop, and let's, we're going to have to, if you want to keep it proportional, you would hold the shift key and kind of do this. But see how it's cut off her fingers there? There's not a, I think we're going to have to flip the crop. And let me see if I can get a better, oh, I really need, all right, we're going to cheat. Here's what we really need. Take a look on screen. That right there is a really pretty good crop. I could actually use it a bit more. Maybe like right there. But it's going to be really tight, but this is a much stronger picture. And what I could do is, if you really wanted to keep the same proportions, you could just add more white. It's
Right.
solid white back there. So you could just add white. That's not an issue.
Well, and addressing the original crop, the problem you were having is the hands. So if
hands,
you
her
wanted
fingers
a
are-
crop like that, if you wanted a crop, you can't be cutting off those hands.
yeah, you can't be cutting off those fingers.
The fingers.
Yeah, the
is what-
fingers
it just look weird. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what it is? Now this is all psychological, but everything is psychological, right? So here's the thing, is people that look at your photo may not be able to tell you, oh, like your average person, you go, how do you like this photo? They're like, I like it, it's okay. They wouldn't be able to articulate. The problem is you cut the fingers off. If the photographer didn't know it's a problem, how is the subject? But subconsciously, it makes us uncomfortable. There's something
Yep.
that making us uncomfortable about
it
the
is.
photo,
It's
and you
just
don't know what it is.
weird.
And this is one of those things. You're uncomfortable with the fact that her fingers are cut off, but you don't know why.
But even
So-
like what you just did there, like pulling that crop in, that made it a much stronger image just right there.
Yeah, I think that did
Yeah.
help. I think next we're talking about adding some contrast, and we really haven't done anything with contrast. So let's pull up the contrast a bit, and that'll also warm her skin tone. So her skin tone is a little, I think it could be a little warmer. So I'm just going to go to the temperature and just drag it a little bit to the Right, just a little bit. I think that actually, now, it's hard for me to tell. On my laptop, I think it looks right, but I'm looking at our reference monitor, and it looks still a little like it needs more. It's hard, you know, so it's, and who knows what monitor you're looking at, so I'm gonna do it right for my monitor and hope it's right for yours. All right, next, what would we do? You might, let me look. Well, this is a high key portrait.
Yes.
You've shot it on a white background. You're going for that bright look. You're like, this is not a dark, dramatic portrait. So I'm not going to do what I would normally do, which is darken this area here, darken from her chin down. You know, like you could go in with a gradient. I'm going to show you what it would look like, and just kind of darken this area to where the light's really on her. Oops, I added an extra gradient. To where the light's really on her face.
Yeah, kind of pulling it up to the
Because it's
face,
a high
yeah.
key, I mean, that doesn't look bad. I think I went a little too far. But
It is nice, a little bit of it, but just a little bit. I think
Yeah.
people go too dramatic on that.
I think I'm just going to take it off altogether because,
Yeah.
like I said, we know that this is a high key portrait. Let's just hit the delete key. And let's see what else. Now, her irises. Her irises are a bit washed out. Let's look at those irises. I think I would do some work on those irises. Let's just get the adjustment brush tool. Let's go in now. Now, make sure that you've hit the word new. So you're not just changing what we did to her, you know, to the rest of the photo where we brightened her face.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, let's go in here and make sure new is selected. And let's bump the contrast up a bunch. We're going to make our brush size smaller. And let's just get some contrast in those eyes. Her eyes look, they just look a little too, they look a little too flat. In fact, I'm going to pull off the exposure a little bit. Let's get her eyes looking a little better. All right. So I think that her eyes, I think that's a bit better. And lastly, there's not really much more to do. Of course, you'd probably go through and get rid of any blemishes. I'm in Camera Raw. Camera Raw's tool is not awesome for getting rid of blemishes. The awesome tool for that is actually the healing brush, and you can even use, well, we'll use the spot healing brush for sake of speed, but you just make the brush a little bit bigger than the blemishes, click once, and they are gone. So let's just do a real quick, she's not going to need any face smoothing or softening. Now you could, if you wanted to, you could try to, you know, get the tones on her face, but we're not going to have enough time to go through and do like a frequency separation and stuff. But let's do that stuff.
What about that shadow with the hair?
Yeah,
Would you do
this one
anything?
over here. So
Yeah.
what it is I think we either go with this bright area of skin,
Yeah.
or you get rid of that bright area.
Yeah.
It's kind of funky lighting. I hate to say it. I don't really want to critique your image, but it creates a challenge because the rest of her face is flat and you got a highlight right here in the cheek. But I guess what we could do is use the patch tool. So the patch tool is the cousin of the healing brush. It's for bigger stuff. So let's try this. I don't know how well it's going to work. Let's go get that darker area. Let's drag it over to a lighter area and let go. Did pretty good. Look at that.
Yeah.
All right. I love it when the plan comes together. All right, there we go. Yeah, a couple little bits, and I think that you're good there. You're not going to do skin softening. The last thing I would do to finish it off is let's add some hair highlights. So there's a lot of ways to do this. We could have done it in Camera Raw. In fact, you can go back to Camera Raw and just open it up. You could get the adjustment brush, make it brighter than you think you should, make the brush bigger than you think you should, and just hit some highlight areas just to make the lighting look more interesting and her hair look more interesting. So just kind of hit a couple of those areas. I'll show you a little before and after just on that, right? So it just makes it look a little more, it's probably a little bright, which is why I kind of start off. But so there's our kind of finished image. Let's look at the original again. Let me reopen it if I can. Can I get to it easily? Yeah, hang on. Right here. And let's go to the Camera Raw defaults.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'll leave the crop in place,
Yeah.
but at least you can kind of see where we're at. So let me hide these two. So can I do Control Tab that go? Yeah, hang on. Let me get them at the same look there. So you can see we didn't have to go very far to get there. But I think that we got a better crop and just a better look all the way around.
So there was a question,
Sure.
you know, and looking at the back of the image, there's that piece of her arm that's kind of like exposed.
Yeah, that's.
Does that bother you, or would you
Yes,
take
it does bother
yeah.
me.
Yeah, because it bothers me too.
I would
That's
probably
what-
get rid of
yeah.
that. Let's do it, right? I mean, I know we got to take.
There's a
break
comment
here in
about
minute.
it. It kind of bothering me too. So
Yeah, no. I think that's a good call. Let me put it this way: if it draws your attention away from her
that's
face,
the thing. It's drawing
gotta
you
go.
down. It's kind of just it's in a weird
Right.
spot. In the
Right.
but the crop is strong.
Oh, this computer. I'm not used to this computer. It keeps putting things in full screen mode that I don't want in full screen mode. Okay. Let's go to the clone stamp tool. And I'm going to just take this arm straight down. Like that. And is that soft enough brush? No, it is not. All right. You can do better than that, but at least it's not, it needs a little work.
Yeah.
It needs some work, but yeah, I
But-
agree. It does look much better.
There you go.
All right, coming up next, we've got more images, and we're going to take a look and take you through these. We've got some giveaways. Did you tell them how to enter the giveaways?
Oh yeah, we did not talk about it. However, I've seen people who are doing it already, and you just go into the comments, tell us what you want to win. If you want to win the Lytra Torch, the Slick Pick Master level count, or the PlatyPod Max, just go in the comments. Tell us, hey, I'd love to win the PlatyPod Max, and you'll be entered into the contest here live. So, and then we'll pick the winner at the end of the show.
Great. So when we come back, more of what I would do, and we'll see how that goes after the break.
Yeah.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. My name is Serge Ramley. I'm a French photographer living in Los Angeles, California. And I'm a fine art photographer. And 10 years ago, my whole career started with having a portfolio. Now I got 7 books with a German publisher called 10 Hours, and my work is in the Yellow Corner network with over 85 galleries around the world. But I got discovered because I had an amazing portfolio. I use SlickPick as a technology for my portfolio. They have been around since 2010, helping photographers to get their photos out there. SlickPick is so easy to use, and it is really just for photographers. Some amazing names are switching their portfolio over to SlickPick, like people like Daniel Corden, who's one of the most followed landscape photographers on the planet. But the reason I'm so excited about this is for a limited time only, a number of limited seats, you can get somebody, a professional, draw and design your portfolio. All you have to do is get the master plan, and you're gonna get it at 50% for life if you're a Kelby One member. Also, you just have to fill in a form, and then a professional designer will do the website for you. Mind-blowing. You will get an annual all-in-one master plan that comes with portfolio designs, photo sharing and hosting, and hundreds of other amazing features. And today, Kelby One members will receive an introductory 50% discount, not just for the first year, but for the lifetime of account. Just go to slickpick.com/KelbyOne to claim your spot.
Would you believe us if we told you that you could fit studio lighting in your pocket? Well, Lytra has made it possible. Lytra is a global award-winning brand that designs and manufactures professional-grade camera lights that are compact, rugged, and waterproof. Whether you're using Lytra gear in a photo studio or underwater, Lytra's mission is to provide content creators with flexible and unlimited lighting tools that can mount on any camera, anywhere. Their lights come with a high CRI or color rendering index, making them some of the most color accurate lights in the industry. Due to the light's compact and rugged design, photographers are able to use the lights in ways that their studio lighting never could. Lytra has also made multiple lighting accessories available to fit your every need as a creator. Whether you're shooting portraits, nailing a product shot, or even flying your drone, they have got you covered. Lytra enables photographers and filmmakers to focus on their craft and create something beautiful. What will you create?
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by B&H Photo, the professional source since 1973.
Hey everybody, Scott here with Eric, and before we kick back into our next images, and we've got some good ones, I've got some big news.
Yeah, you got some big news.
Today is launch day.
Yeah.
So this is for me, it's big news. I hope it will be big news for you. If not, well, Anyway, so you guys have probably seen my book, the digital photography book. It's become the best-selling book in history on digital photography, and it's been translated in all kinds of languages and stuff. Anyway, the last time I updated that book was 7 years ago. Now, I've learned a lot since then. And today we are launching the brand new version of this book. So I'm going to play a little video that I did for you about the book. So I don't want to tell you all about it. We'll get the video. But I haven't announced it yet. It is on Amazon. So I guess the cat's out of the bag. And yesterday it was the #1 selling book
it went to
in
number
one of the
one,
photography
like that day.
categories. So someone knows about it. But we've been trying to keep it secret so we can launch it today. And the word has gotten out. But anyway, so this is the latest version. Well, I'm going to let you watch the video.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
all updated.
Yeah,
It's great stuff.
let's watch the video and then we'll chat.
These days, we can learn a lot about photography in just 1 year. I mean, think about how much you've learned in the past few years. Now, my job is sharing the new things I've learned, and I'll bet some of you will recognize this book, the Digital Photography Book. I get letters all the time from readers of the book who've told me again and again that this is the book that lit their passion and gave them real results they could see right away. It's used in colleges and universities all over the world, and it's been translated into dozens of different languages, and it has become the #1 best-selling book in the history of digital photography, and I'm so very grateful. And as thrilled as I am with its success, there's one thing about it that just kills me. I wrote the original version 14 years ago, and the last time I updated it was 7 years ago. 7 years, and I look at it now and I see so many things that I do differently today. So I set out to do an update. Well, I thought it would be just an update, but so much has changed that I wound up nearly rewriting the entire book. Today, I feel like I can better communicate these ideas and techniques, and I have better examples and so many new things to share. And well, it's finally here. It's here. It's the step-by-step guide to making your photos look like the pros, and I cannot wait to share it with you. It uses the same type of layout and concept as the original book. It's just one idea per page, and I explain everything to you just like I would to a friend if we were out shooting together. I leave out all the technical jargon. I just tell you straight up which buttons to push, which settings to use, and how to make the type of images that you've always dreamed of. And I'll bet you knew that those type of images, they were inside you, and you felt like you could be creating those types of images if somebody would just break it down in plain English and show you the secrets. Well, that's what I've done in this brand new version of the Digital Photography Book. It's just the funk and not the junk, and you're going to get real results right away starting today. I have entire chapters on everything from landscape photography to shooting portraits, from travel to sports photography, from using off-camera flash to shooting weddings, and about everything in between. The new version of this book is in bookstores right now, and you can get the print edition or the ebook version. Heck, why not get both? Look, it's the least expensive thing you can buy for your photography that will give you the most results and the biggest bang for your buck. It's the new Digital Photography Book, 7 long years in the making, and you can pick it up wherever photography books are sold.
Very excited about it. It's been a lot of work, and I want to thank my team here. They have worked hard on it because, like, I just do the writing, but they have to edit it. Can you imagine what it's like editing my writing? Poor Kim, my editor, the woman's a saint. That's why she said, I got to get him a Walking Dead mask because I don't want to hear his mouth anymore. So that's one. And Jessica Maldonado, who is my designer, who actually just does a fantastic, she's the greatest designer. She's the greatest person, and I'm so lucky to have the team that we have here, but we all wind up getting involved in it. And so I want to thank my crew. I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity, because if you guys didn't buy the book, I would never get to do books. So thank you very much. And it's a labor of love, this one. And I hope you find it helpful and useful, and that it brings you up to speed on 7 years of stuff that I haven't told anybody. All right.
I'll tell you, it's a great book. I mean, I love the style that you write in, because it's that one concise, one page, one tip. So it's like you absorb stuff really quickly. So other than these, books where it's like, thousands of pages, and you're like, just boil it down to what do I need to know, and that's what you do very well. So speaking of that,
thank you.
Let's go through another edit.
All right, so take a look at the image we have on screen here. This is a cool one. And what I like about this, they did a lot of the photography stuff right, like photographically. So I know it's not supposed to be a critique, but I'm going to give the photographer a high five. Same thing with the last photographer. They know what they're doing.
Yes,
right?
they do. I mean, so they're taking a long exposure of waterfall.
They did a, look at it, 19-second exposure. Yeah, they used an ND, right? And look at they got something in the foreground. They're down low. They're doing a lot of really good things here.
Yeah.
So what would we do first? Now, I'm not working on the raw photo. I'm working on the JPEG. But I can tell you what the first thing that I would do if this were the raw image. I would go to profiles and I would choose landscape as my profile. So the landscape profile is designed to make your image right out of the bat before you've moved a single slider. It's designed to interpret the raw image with more contrast, with more sharpness. It's just a better looking rendition. So the first thing that I would do if this were the raw, and I'm sure they shot in raw, but I would immediately go choose landscape. Adobe, I think it's called Adobe Landscape. So that would be step one. And that would already put you in a better place. Like you would see a difference, like you go, ooh, that's better.
And if step one you didn't shoot in RAW, step one would be shoot in RAW.
Yeah, so step one. All right.
Yes.
Now, so what are the issues? Like, what do we have to deal with here? Well, the image is a little flat, but that's not the photographer's fault. The reason the image is flat is they shot in RAW. So when you shoot in RAW, your camera turns off all the contrast and the sharpening and all the great stuff that it does to make JPEGs look great, and the image looks flat. And they're like, we haven't done anything to this photo, you do something to it. So that's where we're at. So that's why the image looks flat. So it needs contrast. The big issues that I'm worried about, and I know Eric sees these because these really show up on his radar, these bright areas over here.
Yeah,
and
that's
over
immediately
here.
what I saw. That hot spot on the rocks and the clouds, or the lack of clouds.
Yep, and a part of the problem is going to be too, is that we're not going to be able to crop that away. Because if we do, we're going to be cutting into the waterfall and stuff. So it's kind of flat color-wise. I'm not crazy about the white balance, but we'll look at that. There's a big dot over here on the left side. We should probably get rid of that. But let's go ahead and start going through it. So once I did that, let's look at the white balance and see what we can do. If we make it a little warmer, that might help, but you can't tell yet because the image has got a long way to go. Let's hit auto and see where we wind up. It's marginally better.
Marginally better. I mean, it definitely tried to deal with the highlights and the waterfall.
Yeah, so let's look back. Yeah, it brought some of the detail back in the waterfall. Now, we know that we've got problems with this photo. Look up in the right corner of the histogram. Do you see that white triangle? That lets you know that something has gotten so bright in this image that it's destroyed the pixels. There's no detail in those areas.
I guarantee it's that rock up there.
I'm going to think it's this rock. It could be there. Let's hit the, now that's after we've lowered the highlights. Let's put the highlights back to 0.
Yeah.
And if you put your cursor over it, it'll show you, if you click, look at that.
The rocks are gone.
So a little bit of the waterfall and a lot of the sky is completely, literally no pixels. So let's take back the highlights and see how it affects this thing. Drag the highlights to the left because this is the remedy for it. All right. Well, look, we already got the waterfall back.
Yep.
We got the sky on the left.
And
look,
if this was the raw image, you might be able to get all that, might be able to get most of that detail back.
Yeah. Well, if it were, you have more latitude in getting rid of the highlights on a raw image. But in the raw image, you would probably have less.
Yes.
You know, less clipping to begin with. Okay, so taking the highlights back has helped us. It brought back the detail. But this thing is really lacking contrast. I'm going to hold the Shift key and I'm going to double click on the nub for whites and for blacks and kind of get our tonal range set. And then we got to crank up that contrast. It's really missing contrast.
Yeah, look at that.
Now, here's the thing. Contrast boosts your color too. So now that I've done that, I'm not sure that the white balance I chose earlier, I might have to nudge that. I'm going to put a little bit of magenta in there. I think that's just it. I think just adding the magenta. All right. And I also think we might just lower the exposure a little bit altogether.
Yes.
Just like a little bit like that. Now, the water looks like it needs something. I'm going to go to the adjustment brush and I'm going to darken the water. I know it's supposed to be bright, but I think this whole area needs to be darkened, like this whole, and this wall over here. So we're trying to lead your eye to
the 3 waterfalls. That's it.
The waterfalls are what this is about,
you
right?
can see already just by doing that, and that's what you did, is you drew my eye to those 3 waterfalls.
Yeah, so here's our before and after if you want to see. Now, we're not done, but you can already see what we've done, and it's not big stuff, right? It's moving a slider here and there, but I think we're going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to get out of our split screen, which is not easy to do in Camera Raw. There we go. I want to darken the edges around the photograph. What darkening the edges will do is draw your attention more towards the waterfall.
Yep.
Now, but we want to do it in a way where it's not obvious. You don't want to see a vignette. You just want to put one there, and you don't want to see it. So it's supposed to be very subtle. So let's go to the effects panel, and same thing you do in Lightroom in the effects panel. And we're going to drag the post-crop vignetting amount. We're going to drag it to the left. So now you'll see, here's big time. That looks, you know. All right, you just want to add a little of it to take the edge off the edges. So you don't really want to see that there's a vignette. So I'm going to show you just what the vignette did. Here's a before and after. So this little button down here at the bottom, looks like 3 sliders, is basically a preview of just what you did in this one panel. So I'm going to click on it, watch. See? Like you wouldn't open it up and think it's got a vignette on it, but look what it did.
Well, I think for I don't know about you, for me, it's that -9 to -11, somewhere in there tends to be it.
Yeah, my number is -11 generally.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think we can go further.
Well, you
because
can go
you've got
further
this-
on images. That's just the starting point.
Yeah. And usually, on most images, 0.11 is my jam. I just set it there. -11 is like where I go. But in this case, I think we can do more, and we're going to have to deal with this other stuff. We might as well just go deal with that now. So, but before we leave here, this is an image with a lot of detail and a lot of texture. I want to pull that out. Let's go to the texture slider and drag to the right quite a bit so we can bring out the texture. All right, we can even bring the clarity. Now, the clarity is going to adjust the midtones as well. Let's just see what a little bit of clarity does. That's pretty subtle. But I usually will do about half clarity of what I do with texture, all right?
Well, the texture really brought out that texture in that rock formation to the right with the leaves or the moss or whatever.
Yeah, that's I think
really
where it had the biggest effect there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Eric, I want you to look over here.
Yeah.
So how about if we did this? What if we grab the gradient tool? The gradient tool is great for leading the eyes and darkening areas in a really smooth way. Because with it, I can make it darker here and then get lighter as I get to the thing. Let's try that. So let's darken the exposure a full stop. Let's drag it over this wall. And then I can move the dark point, that's the darkest point. I want that wall to be nice and bright. The waterfalls to be nice and bright. I think we can get maybe something like this. That's too much. So let's pull it off a little bit. Maybe something there. It's pretty subtle, but I'll just show you what
it's a big change, though.
Let me turn off the overlay and just show you before and after. See how it just takes the heat off that side a little bit?
Yeah.
If it gets too bright, now it's competing with the waterfalls, and the waterfalls
already,
are the star of the show.
So you keep on, and that's a goal here. You're keeping on to shift my eye to the left of that image.
Yep. Now let's deal with this thing over here. This thing's got to go. It's just got to go.
Yeah,
So let's do this. Let's get the lasso tool, and we're going to select this whole area right here. And we're going to use content aware. We're going to try content aware fill. So just go edit, fill, and we'll choose content aware. Click OK. Keep your fingers crossed. That's not good.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes you can undo and just try it again, and you get a different
I know.
result.
It's so weird, right?
Let's try it and see. Now it's pretty much the same. So let's do this. Switch to the patch tool. We know the patch tool rocks. Let's find an area that looks kind of okay somewhere in here and let go. That's a better patch.
Yeah, that
much
is a
better
better
than
patch.
content aware fill. Then let's go grab these little areas up here, drag them to. So how it works is this. You put a selection around the thing you want to get rid of, click inside it, and move to another area somewhere nearby that looks okay. and it uses that as its basis. With the sky up there, I think you're either going to, A, completely get rid of it, or you're going to have to darken it a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's in a position where it's kind of dragging your eye anyways to where you want to go.
I know. That's where I'm at. I'm like, it's not so bad.
It's not terribly bad. That wall was terribly bad. That wall is a big difference.
All right, difference. So and this is still a little bright right there, and we're trying to drag it to a darker space. All right, so we're making some progress here. I do think we need to get rid of a couple of little other junky things. So let's get the healing brush, the spot healing brush, and make the brush size bigger. And I'm going to get rid of this little spot over here as a crazy spot. But I'm also, and I do this a lot in my photos, I'm going to get rid of all this little stuff that's just drawing your eye for no reason. You know, it's what did Henry Matisse say? If the stuff in your photo isn't helping it, it's hurting it. It's either working for you or against you. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these little things that stand out to my eye on a quick look.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 30 seconds, but it's worth doing. The image needs to be sharpened, but there was one more thing I wanted to do. Now, I will tell you this. Sometimes you know how you just want to experiment? I want to experiment with something. This is a typical thing that I'll do. Duplicate the background layer. So Command-J on Mac or Control-J on Windows. And we're going to go to multiply mode. It's going to make it really dark, but I just want to see what it looks like. I just want to see. Now, the good thing about this layer that's in multiply, you can lower the opacity. See, I think the rocks down here.
Or you could even mask it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to do next. I think this part down here actually looks good. So I'm going to add, I'm going to hold the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on Windows, click the layer mask. So now that is hidden behind that black mask. I can go grab a brush and paint in white, because I think I got a feel in this, and I do this a lot. I put that multiply mode on a lot just to see what it's going to look like. And now I can back it off and get it kind of dialed right in. And of course, you got to sharpen the image. It goes without saying. Filter, sharpen, and let's sharpen the living daylights out of it. So 120, 1.2, and 3. This is a very typical. I'll be between 1.1 and 1.2. Since it's got a lot of detail and rocks and edges, then I would probably be 1.2. And that would be kind of our final image.
Yeah. And then if you look at the before and after, that's, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, to get the before and after, it's going to be a little sticky. Is it this one over here? Yeah. So there's the before. And let me bring this down to size so you're seeing it more.
There you go.
Like it. So it gives you an idea. But it was a good shot to start off with, so that really helps. All right, coming up next, we've got more things. This will give you an opportunity to run over to Amazon.com and order a brand new book. It looks like this. It's worth a try. Stick around. Coming up next, more images, and we'll take you from start to finish. Stick around.
Is the tripod dead? Sure, a tripod works for basic shots, but who wants to be basic? You don't need basic, you need blockbuster, and that's a job for a PlatyPod. The PlatyPod is your go-anywhere, do-anything flat tripod base. Its compact design helps you discover unique angles that you could never reach with a typical tripod. So, whether you're bringing up baby, driving Miss Daisy, or with your beasts of the Southern Wild, you can capture big-budget footage and stills for a fraction of the time and money. So go ahead, shoot the next Rocky or Birdman. Or on the waterfront, the PlatyPod is equipped to grip uneven surfaces and hang from just about anything. When tripods go low, the PlatyPod goes lower. Its flat base reaches the lowest possible angle, resulting in truly inventive shots that can't be replicated with traditional equipment. And if you feel like adding a dramatic overhead angle, the PlatyPod has you covered. Just strap it or screw it in, and you're ready to go within minutes. The PlatyPod is constructed from aircraft-grade aluminum and titanium. Yeah, the stuff Air Force One is made of. So it's durable enough to travel with you from Chinatown to Casablanca and everywhere in between. If you only take the tripod, the story ends. You wake up the next morning with nothing but basic footage. Or you could take the PlatyPod to a museum, or on an elevator, or strap it to a tree, or hang it on a bench at church, or put it on the ground and get incredible blockbuster footage. Who are we kidding? You should totally take the PlatyPod. The tripod is not dead, but it needs a sidekick. The PlatyPod.
Hey there, my name is Brett Malley. I'm a Kelby One instructor and Adobe Press author. If you've been wondering what more you can do with your landscapes, take a look at my latest class on landscape compositing. In this class, I cover everything from how to change out your background, how to bring in a foreground and a subject, and even changing lighting and atmosphere. So if you've ever wondered how to do landscape compositing, now's your chance, right here on Kelby One. Check it out.
Lightroom 2020 is out. It's the latest version of Lightroom, and they have added so many cool things to it. But here's the thing, it's not just the stuff they just added, it's the stuff they've been adding for the last year and a half to 2 years. They just, every 3 months, here comes more stuff and more stuff. And you know, when you signed on to this whole subscription thing, you were like, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna get new features every 3 months. Be careful what you wish for, because staying on top of all these features is hard. That's why I did this class. I want to show you, you're going to see stuff that you didn't even know they snuck in. There's so many things that it's one of the longest classes I've ever done. But here's the thing, you don't have to watch it all. You can jump right to the lessons and the things that you haven't learned yet. Also, I include everything in here. I do a whole big section on Lightroom Classic, then Lightroom, the cloud version, whatever it's called, and then Lightroom Mobile, whatever it's called. They're all called different stuff that all sounds the same. But I covered it all. It's all in my brand new class. You're going to learn tons of stuff, and it's only here at Kelby One.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Canon.
Hey-o. Hey, we're back, Scott
back.
and Eric. We're doing a couple of hey-os where we went on the air there. Anyway, we are looking at images that people have submitted, and thank you very much for everyone. I know it's not easy to send in your raw images.
No.
I wouldn't be crazy about sending people my raw images.
But we were talking about the break. If you really look at it, this is what is the great equalizer. Like, it's not the gear a lot of times and the equipment. I mean, you need the gear, you need the equipment, but the post is really when you see those images. Like, if you look at that last image, like from where it went to where it ended up, like that's night and day. The only other thing that I saw in there that I would have maybe addressed is the water has a little bit of a brownish kind of tone
you know,
to it.
once Eric said it, I'm like, I should have fixed the watercolor.
And you can just fix the watercolor.
Just make
in
it
post.
blue. You
Yeah.
can make it blue, you can make it greener, you can make it aqua.
Just don't go too far with
Go
it.
too far,
You know,
but yeah, you
just
could have
kinda-
done it.
You could just tint it a little bit.
Well, I have a beautiful photo here. We got.
All right.
I got to hand it to the photographers today. They're sending great photos. Take a look at this one. This is a nice looking shot here from one of my favorite cities and one of my favorite places and one of my favorite views in Venice.
Yes, that's a nice one.
So this is beautiful, and I have one very similar that I did, and I think I like theirs better. But I will. I'll take you through the process. Now, again, even though it is not a landscape photo, I would have chosen at the very beginning on the raw photo either Adobe Landscape or Adobe Vivid. So the default one's called Adobe Color. It's okay, but it doesn't make your image look any better. It's just, it's okay. The other ones, like, give it a boost. Now, so let's just assume that I did that. Step 2, let's hit auto and see what it does. Now, Eric said earlier that how well auto works, and I agree, for travel and for street photography. Let's take a look, watch. That's a nice jump there.
That's a nice auto.
That's a good auto. That's a good, I mean,
Starting point.
which starting place do you want? A or B?
I'll take
okay,
that.
I'll take B.
I'll take that.
All right. So let's go ahead and like kind of take our way through here. The first thing that I would probably do is I still want to see more detail right in here. So I'm going to try to open up those shadows a little bit more. Just a little bit. You can't kind of go crazy. Also, we have a couple of different things that we could do with the sky. One is to darken the sky using a graduated filter. So go to the graduated filter. It looks like a little gradient up here. Lower the exposure. Let's go a full stop or maybe even a stop and a half. Drag it from the top to the bottom. So look at what just
Dramatic.
darkening that sky did for
Yep.
the image.
Yep.
Now, I think the whole image is a little dark, but we're going to deal with that. But now, while you're here, while we're cheating anyway, let's go for it.
It's not really cheating.
No, it's not cheating.
This is what people do.
This is exactly what people
and
would do.
That's the thing is, what you did right there, you got to understand, where are you wanting people to look? I think you're wanting them with that edit to look at the gondola and that horizon.
Right.
You know, that's
Now,
where you wanted to draw people.
It's also not cheating because what you would do out in the field is put up a new. Eric's going.
You would just go boop.
You would put a neutral density gradient.
That's what you would
filter.
do if you want. And if you want to do it in camera, you can go buy the $150 Hyeta neutral density filter that slides into the top and does the gradient and just slides
slide
in.
it in, or you can do this. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Now, but the cheating part I haven't gotten to yet.
Okay.
The cheating part is, and a lot of people don't think about this, but now that you've darkened the sky, you could go tweak the colors by using the temperature and tint sliders. So you could make that sky more blue behind it. Look at that.
Ooh, yeah.
And you could bring up some magenta in there. So you can actually tweak the sky that's there and make it even more colorful. So I'm just going to turn off that. Let's turn off the overlay and then, so look at the difference. So it's a richer, more...
And the key there is, where is your eye looking before? Your eye looking, when you got it before, it pulled my eye up. When you put that in, it pulled my eye down.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
And this area in here still needs to be a bit brighter.
Yep.
So there's a number of ways to do this. An easy way is to grab the adjustment brush, click, a couple times on the exposure, get a nice big brush, and just pop a click once or twice, just kind of right in here, just to kind of make sure that our eye is going to that spot.
Yep.
Now, let's see what else we could do. Back in the panel, we could use a little more contrast. That makes all the colors a little bit more richer and vivid. And if you really want vivid colors, don't touch saturation. Go to vibrance and just bring that up a bit. Now, as a photographer, you might be watching this right now and thinking, ooh, that's a little vibrant. This is an image that would sell. When you add more, people really are drawn to very, very colorful images. If you make it a little too colorful for a photographer, it almost throws money into your bank account. So it depends on who your audience is. If you want to sell this print, and this is a very saleable print.
Oh yeah.
I'd boost the color. I'd make the color a little more than you would normally like. Now, let's cheat a little bit more while we're here. So I'm going to go get the
Let's
adjustment.
enhance the photo.
I'm going to get the adjustment brush. I'm going to make it a lot smaller. I'm going to make it brighter, so a stop brighter, but watch, Eric, I'm going to crank the yellows almost all the way up. And what we're going to do is turn the lights on. Bing, bing, bing. So we can turn those. The lamps look better on than they do off. So let's see, watch. Now, there's two things going on there. It's not just the lamps, but it's the... But I'd rather have the lamps on, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. There's one other thing I would probably do here. Let me just look. We're going to, of course, add texture. You're going to add texture. Maybe half clarity. Let's shift double-click the whites and see what we get. Shift double-click the whites. Let them auto-set. Shift double-click the blacks. Ah, that's okay. They didn't do a whole bunch. I don't necessarily think you need a vignette, but let's put that -11.
You could just do
that
that
little
little
tiny
vignette.
one.
Little vignette.
All right.
Might even be a -7. You never know.
Let's do a minus. I'm just going to go straight to my -11. It's
Yeah, no,
so subtle, you won't even notice
good.
it's there. Look,
Yeah,
watch the difference.
-11's good.
Like, watch. It just takes the you don't know
bite.
it. Like, if I opened it right now, you wouldn't go, oh, there's a vignette.
No.
That -11 is very subtle. It's very nice. Ooh la la. All right. There's something that's driving me crazy in this photo that I would have to fix. All right. Well, besides, I made my light is a little too bright. Not too bright. It spilled out a little over the edges. But here's what's driving me crazy. And let me see, Eric, is anything driving you crazy about this photo?
Yes.
What is it?
It's proportions. There's a disproportionate, to me, it looks like it's bowing out on the edges.
All right.
That's driving me kind of a little batty right now.
There's two things. That's one of them. What's the other thing?
What's yours?
It's a symmetry issue. So
yes,
first,
okay,
let's fix this.
These leading lines are not. I love the leading lines of the dock.
All right,
but
let's
it
fix
is not
the lens
equal.
thing. So if I don't have the raw photo, but I would go to enable profile corrections. All right, look at the edges. Look.
That's it. It's like, it's just.
It was bowing, and now you're flattening it out. So it's a checkbox. Come on, go turn it on. All right, that's one. The other thing, Eric, is it's this thing.
Yeah, it's like too stretched out. It doesn't look proportionate.
I would probably get rid of it. And I mean, honestly, if it were my shot, I want to keep the symmetry, and I want to keep.
Well, you're going to have to get rid of it too, because it's too close to the edge, and what you were using a wide angle, and because you didn't buy yourself enough room to pull it back into proportions, you got to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's got to go. So let's.
Because even when you did that profile correction there, it took it off the edge.
So what I was going to do was before the profile correction, I was going to select it and squish it so it didn't look stretched. But in this case, I think we're just going to go ahead and get the healing brush, and let's just get this out of here altogether. And I don't know how well this is going to work. Let's give it a shot and see. Oh, it worked pretty well.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom goes the dynamite.
I love it when a plan comes together. All right, let's see what else we got. Actually, I think we're pretty good.
Well, see, look at that. I mean, just that big change, because that was what's driving me nuts over here, is that thing on the left, bowing out.
Sharpen it.
It's almost for the same reason it was driving you nuts.
This is such a nice shot, though. Like this.
Oh yeah,
really...
you're right though. That image right there would sell, totally sell. People would buy that.
I'm going to tell you something that I would do. You don't have to do this, because this is a great shot, just like it looks, and you're messing with something. But if it were me, to be quite honest with you, I would go in and erase these barriers. I would get rid of these little barriers on the outside. Yes, they're really there, but it would be a cleaner picture without them. And I'm always trying to look for a way to simplify my photo. I would go in and get rid of these.
Yeah,
and if you
look
at my version of this photo, they're all gone, because I went through and got rid of every one of them. Simply for one reason, to simplify the photo. The simpler you make it, the clearer your message is. So I would get rid of all of these go over here and get rid of them. Now, this is not the greatest version of me getting rid of them that you've ever seen.
Well, once you zoom out, you're going to see it.
It's not bad, though.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And you have to go in there and get rid of those little ones, like right in between there. You can't leave anything hanging out there. But look how much cleaner it looks. Yep. So I'm going to just leave it right there, and I'm going to go back to where I started getting rid of those. So where was it? Here. So watch. It just cleans it up a little bit.
Yep, definitely.
All right. So anyway, a very, very saleable image. Let's see if we can open up the original again. And let's reset the defaults to the original. So there's the original. And there's with a little bit of tweaking.
And see, this is a good point. Like, you're editing a JPEG.
It's a screen capture.
Screen capture JPEG, and that's what you want to make clear. Like, it is more about the post than it is about the image and what camera this was taken with, what lens this was taken with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it really shows to me.
Yeah, the post is so important. But you know what?
The post is so important.
Here's the thing.
However,
this photographer did everything
right before the post.
So they were there at the right time of day. They had a great sky.
Yes.
Their camera position is low. They got
the
symmetry.
Original. Look at the original. If you look at the original and you look at that image, right, you would go, if I shared that image, people would be like, well, that's not great. I mean, that's kind of lifeless, it's kind of flat and all that. That's what we start with. We start with a kind of flat, but you have to do what you said. You have to do everything right. You've got to compose it right, shoot it at the right time of day, shoot it with the right settings, shoot it with the right lens, but then this is the image you end up with.
Well, we're out of time.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we're going to give some prizes away. I'm going to try to get to 2 more images, but I'm not going to be able to do the depth of what I'm going to be like. This is a 2-minute fix. Okay. So we're going to get 2 more images if I can get them up here, because we got so many good images that people sent in. But I want to get to 2 more, but they're going to be like, you're going to have to do the 3-minute timer.
Okay.
Don't let me go over. And then we're going to wrap it up, but we're going to also have our prizes. And that's coming up in just a second. So stick around. That's what's coming up next.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by PlatyPod, the world's most compact tripod base.
Make sure you don't miss any episodes of The Grid by subscribing to Apple's podcast app or iTunes. It's free, and we even have a special audio-only version too. So sign up today.
Howdy. All right.
All right, we're back.
We're
going to
back.
try to speed round some images here.
All right, we're going to do some speed round images, and Eric is going to time them real quick, and then we're going to call our, pick our winners, and then we're done. And then we're back, and then I'm going to go to Dunkin' Donuts with a mask on. Anyway.
And, you know, I think it looks like a lot of people are loving this show. So, yeah, if you're loving this show, just leave us a comment. We'd love to do more of these if people really find these helpful.
Yeah,
so,
these are fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what is cool? We had such good images turned in. So like the one you see on screen here.
Oh,
you ready?
yeah.
Here we go. We got 3 minutes.
All right, here we go.
So I think what the issue is it's just kind of flat looking. But there's this issue of this big thing here. I don't know if it's a ladder. I don't know if it's part of the plane. It's not good. We got to get rid of that. But first, before we do that, let's go up here and kind of let's hit auto. Okay, that's not helping us. Let's increase the contrast. That's what it really needs. It's just a flat looking picture. Look at what bumping that contrast did. Just bumping the contrast and nothing else. Look at that. It makes everything look like you cleaned it up. Let's add some texture. It's plain, clarity. And then I think I want to get the light on her. So let's go get the radial filter, and we don't want to darken her, so go to hit outside. So everything outside it is darkened, and she is bright. So this is the radial filter. It's in Lightroom and all that. So let's put it here. It's just way too dark. Now I went overboard on the. There we go. Now let's go up and open and do the standard stuff. You know, you got texture, clarity, you got all that stuff. Okay, that's all good. Let's go over here and get rid of this thing. We gotta get that thing out of there, Eric, and it's not gonna be easy.
Well, you don't know.
I know I can do
it. If it is part of the plane, you have no idea what it is.
Yeah, it is. You don't have any reference for it. Hey, look at that.
Boom, look at that.
All right.
Magic.
All right, now let's take this. You're going to have to take this piece here over, right? I don't think you can just kind of leave it there.
Yeah.
Hey, look how it copied the Japanese zero flag down to it made a third flag.
Yeah.
Come on, that's pretty good.
That was.
The only other thing is, do you see how you've got this light blue area there? It's a reflection or something. I'm thinking I'm going to get rid of that too. I'm thinking you're just going to take your time, go in here and bring that down. And this is not I'm doing it quickly because I'm on time constraints, but I think you're getting rid of that too. And just make it nice and clean. It's a good shot. It deserves it. And I also might. Actually, that's not bad right there. I think we're pretty good. And let's see the original here.
Do you think the lettering's a little too bright still?
The lettering could be too bright. Yeah, there's the original here. But you know what it is? You don't want it. If you darken it, it could go gray.
It's where it's a fine line.
Yeah.
Fine line.
But here's what we could do. Remember, I like to duplicate it, go to multiply mode. Let's take it back and see. Yeah, it's kind of looking
starting
tarnished.
To wash it out.
All right, but it's no harm done. All right, so that's just a quickie. And we got it in under 3 minutes. All right, moving on. How about this shot? I think this is a very lovely flower shot. The problem is that, because you got down low and shot it, that's good.
Yeah,
is this
background
brightness
out of focus?
Over here. Yeah. Background's way out of focus. Yeah, technically got a lot of good stuff here. This is where I think I would go. Let's go back to camera raw. I think I'd go to that same tool. Go to the radial tool and darken everything around the outside of that flower. So let's pull it out a little bit more. And then I think you got to do something to deal with this. Now, I want it to be brighter. Well, we'll fix the brightness. Let's go get the gradient then and darken this over here. I gotta get you looking at the flower. We're not quite there yet. So let's get the adjustment brush. Oh, by the way, we never really did any tone. Let's hit auto. Oh, didn't do much, did it?
Didn't do much.
So here's before with the auto, after. It's better. Let's open up the shadows a bit and add some texture and clarity. That'll help. But I think still we're going to have to go in and just simply brighten the flower itself to draw your eye right to it. Now, you would use the auto mask mode, and then you got to do one more thing here, even after we get this to where it's at. And a little vignette. Let's darken the edges. Go to the effects panel, darken those edges a bit. But you see that bright spot there? We got to do something with that. And you could probably do this with the brush if you get it small enough. Let's get the adjustment brush and let's darken that. Go right in here and just kind of, and this is, I'm not doing it I don't have auto mask turned on, which I should. Well, I guess I could just click it, couldn't I? It's just a checkbox, right? That way you can get right up against the edges. There we go. And get that done the right way. You don't want these bright areas. That's kind of a mess outside of there. And get this right back in there. And I think now we just add some more color to it. Let's just let's check our white balance. It looks a little bluish. So let's add a little more color into it. And it's still a little bright down here. It needs a little more work, but this is getting us at least in the ballpark. And let's see if we can see a before and after. So there's your before and after. It's not spectacular. I could spend another 3 minutes on it, though. I think that would help a lot. But I like it. I like the shot a lot.
Well,
it deserves.
So you can see a common pattern here with the post is you're doing a lot to shape and sculpt the light, right?
Yep.
So that's a big thing with the post is shaping and sculpting the light because, another thing, when it is a raw image, that's the other thing is the reason you're adding contrast. That's the one thing that a raw image is going to give you is a uncontrasty image. It's what it's designed to do.
Speaking of uncontrasty, take a look at what we got on screen here. Now, there's a couple things going here. I think we need to do some lens stuff first. Let's just go over to the, where the heck is it? And take a little of the bow. It's bowing out just a little bit. I think we can fix that just a hair. Now we have to recrop it, but it looked like it was like bowing out just a little bit. Watch. Just bring it in a little bit.
Yep.
I'm trying to make the door look flat.
Yep.
All right, so that gets us there. Let's hit auto and see what auto thinks. Well, first let's crop in the edges. Hold on, that's a little croppy. Sorry. All right. Let's go to camera raw. Let's just hit auto, see where we're at. It needs a lot of contrast. Shift double click the whites. Shift double click the blacks. Ooh, now we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
All right, let's crank up the texture. Ooh, look at that texture. A little bit of clarity. Let's go take off a little bit of the edges. Minus 11 so you don't even know it's there. Subtle, subtle. Now that's just a 1 minute fix, but you can see where we got. It just needed a little bit of oomph. It needs some sharpening. And I think outside of that, honestly, I think that one's pretty good. That's a nice shot. I love the contrast of all these warm colors in the rocks, and then you've got this punchy blue door. Now, we didn't really do anything to kick up the color, really. That's kind of the color that was there. But anyway, I'll just, let me get out of this split screen mode and just show you there you go. Didn't do a whole lot, but it made a big difference. And again, I would have switched to landscape, usually landscape. If you wanted to, you could bring up some detail, I guess, up in here, but I'm really being nitpicky. Just bring up that a little if you wanted. I don't know if it's really that necessary. And maybe, lastly, you could darken the floor.
That's what I was just going to say.
Darken that up a little bit, and let's not make it blue. Let's give it more of a neutral color. There we go. Maybe something in there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we have run out of time. Hey, look at that. Eric Egley is in our chat. Eric, buddy, how you doing? Eric's been a guest here on the grid here.
Yeah, on the grid. Yeah,
he is such a good photographer. So Eric wrote, it's always great to see how other creatives handle challenges. But Eric is, I mean, he's like a working pro. He's been out in LA doing big accounts and stuff. So he's looking at this and going, oh, you kids. Anyway, good to see you there, Eric. We love you. Lou says, this was like watching Batman and Robin cleaning up the streets. Hey, Mac had a quick question, and we're going to answer, and then we're going to give our winners. Mac says, hi, Mac, by the way. Mac, also a very good photographer, very talented, super, super cool person. Mac says, if Camera Raw does everything that Lightroom does, other than organizing my catalog, can I do everything in Photoshop? Well, so that's the big thing. Lightroom's jam is its organization. Now, I will say this. Lightroom has features that Camera Raw does not have. Like, even that split screen stuff. It's in Camera Raw, but it's better in Lightroom. So a lot of things that are, they're just better. I don't know if I don't want to say Adobe cares more about Lightroom, but I think that Camera Raw is something they have to do, and Lightroom is what they do. So,
right.
There's all kinds of features and little things that you go, oh, I can't do that in Camera Raw. So there's that. Also, there are other things, like if you ever want to print, you don't want to print out of Photoshop. Oh, no. You want to print out of Lightroom. So Lightroom, but
there's pluses and minuses both, because then there's also in Photoshop.
Yeah, you got to use
where
them both.
You got to use Photoshop for the finishing moves.
Right. So what
that's
it is,
the masking,
Lightroom is your main thing, but like content aware fill, like we did with that guy's waterfall.
Yeah, healing and stuff like that.
So I do 80% of my work, at least 80%, if not 85 in Lightroom. I jump over to Photoshop to do the things that Lightroom can't do, and I jump right back. All right, let's give our winners. So
we got 3 winners. So the PlatyPod Max is going to Tommy Meehan. You won the PlatyPod Max, and then D. Hayes, you've won the Lytra 2.0.
Ooh, nice.
And then Todd Reimer has won the SlickPick Master Level account. And just a reminder that you can get a 50% off on that SlickPick if you go to slickpick.com/Kelby1. So,
yeah, it's 50% off.
What's that?
It's 50%
50% off, yeah.
50, that's a
That's a lot.
And it's really good stuff.
Yeah.
So go check them out. Just go by their site and look at them anyway, slickpick.com, and go check them out.
So if you won, just email us at gridprize@kelby1.com. So again, that's gridprize@kelby1.com.
And we'll verify you, send it out to you. Well, we've come to the end of another grid that went too long. But 16 minutes, that's not bad for us.
It's not bad.
That's not bad. I want to also give a second shout out to Terry White for convincing me to do this. And it was a lot of fun today. I really enjoyed it. I want to thank everybody that sent in images. And hope you guys will consider, I don't want to, did I mention?
Go check it out on Amazon.
Go check it out at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or wherever fine books are sold. On behalf of myself and Mr. Eric Kuna.
All right, see you guys next week, right?
Christina and Jason and Ron and all the gang here, thanks very much. Stay safe. We'll catch you next week. Take care, everybody.